Good afternoon, everyone. I think Priyanshi is having some issues with her networks, so I will be going forward. A very good afternoon to all of you. I am Snehil, welcoming you all on behalf of Solar Quarter and First View Group to our webinar on how the latest module technology can boost Thailand's CNI and emerging floating solar segment. Thank you all the attendees for joining us today. I hope all the attendees had a great time networking with your peers in our exhibition tables. If you have not visited, no worries. The platform will be open till 5:30 today so you can start networking. Let me briefly take you to an overview of today's event. The webinar will focus on imparting knowledge on how large format modules, particularly those utilizing 210 cells, can allow developers to achieve even lower LCOE, how the resulting optimization in electrical balance of system can help reduce the project capex. This webinar will focus on technology trends in solar that can help Thailand achieve solar energy targets. Now, I take the pleasure to thank our sponsor, Trina Solar, for extending their immense support to organize this event. Can you show some excitement? Are we ready to enter the most exciting part of the day? Should I start? Now
Okay.
we will be playing our sponsor video of China Solar. Can I have the video please, team? Can I have the video please?
Thank you, team, for playing the video. So, we are having a sponsor presentation by Mr. Lim Shuang Boon from Trina Solar. So, I would request you, sir, to kindly share your screen and start with the presentation.
Okay, thank you everyone. So let me share my screen. Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen now. So I'll put it
Yes, sir.
to the presentation mode. Yeah. Once again, good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all the audience in the webinar today. I'm Lim from China Solar. Apologies that there's some technical issue for my camera is not working. So I will just speak through for this presentation. Okay, let me start off with a brief introduction about Trina Solar. So we are founded in 1997 and we have more than 20 years of experience in the solar module manufacturing and solar solution. So these are the few key milestones along the way as the company grows. So one of the key achievement was in 2020, where we are listed again onto the Shanghai Stock Market. At the same time, we have also launched our latest 600 watt plus ultra high power modules, setting the benchmark for the PV 6.0 era. So in terms of globalization, we are found in almost all parts of the world. Cumulative shipment wise, we have shipped about 70 gigawatt worldwide, over 100 over of our customers spread out globally, and we have about 15,000 employees working with China Solar. So we are also a very reliable brand and has been ranked six times in a row the top most bankable module supplier by Bloomberg New Energy Finance. And we have been expanding fast growing in Asia Pacific region. So our Asia Pacific HQ is in Singapore. I'm also based in Singapore. Over the last 4 years, we have shipped more than 12 gigawatt to our customers in this region. So we are one of the top three players in Asia Pacific region. So in terms of new leading technology, on the left, you will see that for Trina Solar, we have launched our 210 Vertex Ultra High Power modules. This is based on the 210 wafer size with other different technologies, which I'll elaborate later. In the center column is our N-type iTopCon technology. So with this, we have also started mass production for this product. And on the right is our HJT technology. So this is already in progress. So we hope that we can look at this HAT technology very soon in 2022.
So sorry to disturb you, but the slides aren't changing.
Okay, is it changing?
Yes, sir. Yes, it's changing now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, sorry. So this is just a recap on the module power trend over the last 10 years. So yeah, you can see it's especially exciting for the last 2 years where we see very high power module beams, solar modules coming up. So starting from 500 watt now, just in a span of 1 year, 1.5 years, we are seeing almost a 200 watt increase in terms of the solar module power beam. So this has been made possible by the use of a few different technologies for the cell and solar and module manufacturing. So when we first launched the 600 Watt Plus Alliance in last year, there was only about 30 over companies that has joined the alliance. But fast forward now to 2022, we have almost 90 companies that's already inside the 600 Watt Plus Alliance. So this has set the stage for the whole industry to move towards the higher power modules. And it's, in terms of the whole Eco Alliance, is also ready from the upstream wafer supply to the cell modules and to the downstream system design and all the other BOS suppliers. So this is our Trina Vertex family. So the total we have 5 series that is shown here. So on the left is our Vertex S, which is for residential market, and then we have the center, the 18 and the 19 series, which is for large scale commercial rooftops, and then we have a 2021, which can be used on large rooftops and also for ground mounted projects. So these 5 series will be able to support all the different segments in the solar industry and also can be used for other special application like the agriculture, complementary PV projects, floating PV projects, etc. So in terms of technology-wise, these are the four key technologies that we have inside the PV module. So starting from the top left corner, we are using the largest wafer size in the market now, which is 210. And to complement the large surface area of the cell, we are also using a multi-bus bar. So it will be about 12 bus bar for our 19, 20, and 21 series. Then as the cell becomes bigger, we also upgrade our cutting technology. So we are using the NDC, non-destructive cutting technology. So this will help us to cut the cell and maintain a very even, smooth edges. And this will get us almost similar mechanical loading capabilities as compared to a non-cut full cell. Then on the bottom right will be our high density interconnection technology. So this is to minimize the space between the cell and help to improve the module efficiency. So this is our flagship product, the 670 watt 21 series. So you can see here the power bin range from about 650 up, and we are about 125 watt higher compared to our competitors in the 182 space. Then in terms of string power, we are also about 32% higher in per string power as compared to the 182 cam. Okay, so when we put it into actual system design for a CI rooftop, this is what a case study that we have put together to let everyone have a better understanding of the comparison between a 545 182, a 595 210 mm, and a 655 210 mm. So you can see here we are using a 100 kilowatt inverter as a standard. Then in terms of the strings per inverter, you will see by using the Trina Vertex high power modules, we'll be using less strings per inverter, and the number of modules per string is also increased. So this is based on conservative DC-AC ratio, and the total capacity is about close to 1 megawatt. Okay, then to break down the details, you'll see that for this particular case study, when we use a higher power bin, so the total number of modules used will be less. So this is actually good for the system because this will bring savings at the total system level. So we can see here the modules per string also increase based on Trina Vertex module because we are low voltage. We are low voltage high current design concept. So we are able to put more modules per string. Then there's also less number of strings as compared to the 545 watt 182 cam. So in terms of connector wise, we are also using less, and there's also less DC cabling and less mountings. So besides savings on the DC cost, we're also saving on the mounting structure cost. So you can see here when we break down the mounting details, as compared to the 545, we are able to save on different accessories on the mounting structures. So this will help us to save the overall system cost. So this is a brief guideline overview of the layout of what it will appear on the rooftop. So you can see when we use a higher power bin, although the dimension is slightly bigger, but the overall space that we need to increase is only about 1%, but the total system capacity that we can increase is more than 2%. So this is based on this particular case study. This will be the cost saving details that we have. So overall, as compared to the 545 watt, we are able to save about 0.9 US cents per watt from the different various components. Okay, then as mentioned earlier, because Trina Vertex module is based on a low voltage, high current design, so we have also worked with a lot of mainstream inverter suppliers to make sure that we have a compatible model that can work with these low voltage, high current solar modules. So if you have any doubt, please kindly do contact to us so that we can also help you if you have any design issue. Thank you. So next, I'll also briefly just run through on the PV floating system. So you can see in terms of a PV system overview, so we have a few key components, which will be the main floater, and then we have the maintenance path floater, and also the BOS components floater. So the main floater will be the one that the PV module is going to be mounted on. So commonly used in the market now, you will see that the material is a HDPE material. And then there's also a certain requirement in terms of the buoyancy so that you can support the weight of the solar module, and also different tensile strength design that is also studied to check on how the water movement will create the tension stress onto the overall floater system. So we also need to look at how easy is it to maintain the system, and also the overall stability of the floater system when the module is mounted onto it. So these are some other floaters that will form the overall PV floating system. So this is the BOS floaters. Then one very important factor inside the PV floating system will be the anchoring system. So how we can securely anchor the whole PV array to prevent any movement or drifting away from the original site. So one suggestion is we can consider to use a square array layout so that there will be an even weight diffusion and we can secure a more stable anchoring system. So this is a sorry. So this is overall PV floating summary in terms of the design, the product, the anchor, and the material that we use for different floaters. So we put together into the PV the actual site conditions. So you can see for most of the floating projects, they'll definitely will encounter this high humidity and water exposure issue. So solar modules that is using the glass structure, like the Trina Vertex dual glass models, these are the most suitable products for this kind of environmental condition, because we offer high reliability in terms of the high reliability in for the long-term power generation and operation of the PV system. And at the same time, because of the water surface, so there will be a cooling effect on the solar module, and we can expect to see slightly better power generation as compared to the rooftop projects. So overall, we have also supplied more than 50 megawatt of Trina dual glass module to various projects in Thailand. So on the right, you can see these are some of the site pictures. So of course, we also consider the challenges when we look at a PV floating system. So definitely, the anchoring and the floaters are very critical on the long-term operation and stability of system. Then when we compare to ground-mounted projects or rooftop projects, definitely the installation and commission time will be slightly longer because of the more complicated installation and placement of the PV modules. Then in terms of the O&M, it will also be slightly more difficult because of the access limitation, where the workers have to sit on the boat out to check on the PV modules and the other components. So I'll end off with a few case study and reference project that was installed and commissioned and currently in operation using modules from Trina. So this is one of the most famous project, which is Tengah Floating Solar Farm, 60 megawatt. This is in Singapore. So we have started operation 2021, just last year. Then we also have a project in Vietnam, about 50 megawatt. So this is also using our Vertex glass module, and this is operation in 2020. So we also have projects that is in China. This will be slightly bigger ones, 130 megawatt, started operation in 2019. And this is one of the project in Europe, even earlier, 2018. Then we have also projects reference supplied before for Japan. This is also a smaller project, 2.6 megawatt in Kasaoka, Japan. Okay, so with that, I've come to the end of my presentation. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for the insightful presentation and setting up the tone to today's event for the today's event. So, requesting my team to play another sponsor video of Trina Solar. Thank you so much, team, for playing the sponsor video. So, now it's time to begin with our much awaited panel discussion, which is on how the latest module technology can boost Thailand's CNI and emerging floating solar segment. And to discuss this with us, we have Mr. Milan Koev, who will be joining us in a while, Mr. Lim Xiong Boon from Trina Solar, Mr. John Ray Castro from Beva Ari, Mr. Banchayati from Gunkul Engineering Company Limited, and Mr. Khomsam Kenota from Total Energies. So I would request John Ray sir to start with the panel discussion.
Thank you, Priyanshi, and welcome everybody. First, we'd like to give thanks to the sponsor, Trina Solar, and to all the panelists, and looking forward to a very fruitful discussion with the rest of the guys. So maybe we start with a short introduction for everyone. Maybe a short introduction about yourself, about your company, and what's your view about the floating solar potential in the Thailand market. Kun Kamsan, if you don't mind, I'll start with you.
Hello, hello. You hear
Hi,
me?
Kamsan.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, thank you. I'm nice to join the event. So talking about Total Energies, yeah, we are. If everybody recognize Total, we are the oil and gas company. Let's say we are top five oil and gas company. but nowadays now we rebranding to be Total Energies. So right now we are not going to be just only for to supply the energy on the oil and gas form, but we are going to more broadly energies mix like the solar and also the wind turbine, biogas, biomass, and also the batteries. So yeah, so in Thailand, yeah, we are the investor and developer in the private company, private PPA now. Okay, focusing on CNI. And yeah, right now we have about 50 megawatt in our port. Yeah. And we are going to expand more and more. Thank you.
Thank you, Kun Thompson. Any perspective on the potential of floating solar in Thailand? What's your view on that?
Yeah, of course, because of talking about the CNI is not just only on the dab side, let's say. Once you're talking about the floating solar project here in Thailand, everybody will think about EGAT project, right? But in the CNI, actually, most of the factories, they have the pond. They need to use the water, right? And they have the pond inside the factory. So yeah, in the beginning, we installed the system on the roof, on the car park. But right now, we are going to install it onto the pond. So the floating solar will play the big role here in the future. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Kun Thompson. Kun Bancha, good afternoon. Maybe a short introduction. Of course, Kun is a very well-known company in Thailand, so I don't think an introduction is necessary. But a short intro about yourself and maybe your perspective about the floating solar potential in Thailand.
Okay, thank you, Solar Quarter. Thank you for Tina Solar. Cancun Engineering, very interesting to involve the solar floating EGAT with EGAT because as we know, the first project, 45 megawatt at Silinthorn Dam, already done, is complete. Project, okay, announced already. Start open bid now, start from 4th January till 15 February. And the bidding issue 9 of March this year. It's very interesting. It can could expand the project solar PV. It's like a solar top, solar floating and platform, solar energy trading in the future. As you know, EGAT would like to setting the renewable energy for solar floating as the COP, climate change, in the commitment with the United Nations, and that's why we would like to enter this market. It's very, very interesting. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Kun Bancha.
You're
And then,
welcome.
of course, we go to our sponsor, Lim, and maybe a short introduction about yourself and what's your view about the evolution of products to fit the floating solar hype at the moment globally?
Yeah, thank you, Jure. So, just to introduce myself, I'm Lim from China Solar. I'm the handling the product and marketing. So for floating projects, I think no, it's not exactly new. It has been around for the past few years, but of course, recently traction has started to pick up, and more different countries are looking at the potential of implementing the floating PV projects. So for Thailand case, I think no, with the strong support from IGAT, and at the same time, no, the different component suppliers like the modules, the floaters, the BOS are also in place. So definitely, the whole ecosystem is ready to support Thailand for their floating projects implementation. So we think that it's going to be very exciting for the Thailand floating projects. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Lim. So we have a very experienced panelist here who has a lot of experience in terms of products, in terms of development, and great to hear their feedback on the development they foresee in Thailand. My name is Junrei. I work with Biowa RE. We are involved in different aspects of solar business. We've also recently completed a project in Thailand for a floating project. My key role in Biowa is really looking into the solar trade business, the equipment side, and happy to have you here. So maybe with the introduction coming from the team, when Lim was presented, I was actually looking at the power of the modules, and I feel too old because the power of the module, I always say, is exponential to my age. When I started in the solar industry, the very first module power class, I think that I installed was at around 180 watts, and now we're talking about 600 watts modules. And if I make a graph against my age, then that shows how old I am. I guess I feel too old now in the industry. There has been a lot of development on the module side. It would be good to get also the inputs coming from developers like Kun Thompson. Module sizes has increased from I think 160 cell size, and now we're talking about 600 watts, the larger modules. Do you see any challenge in terms of development with the new power classes, the mechanical size of the modules as well?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, in my point of view, yes, for sure, the high power, high the efficiencies will be better, right?
Mhm.
However, yeah, is other than that is if the module can reduce the LCOE cost, right? And as Trina present, then the new technologies, actually the PV module supplier, they try to support on that one. They decide the new product to support the developer to reduce the LCOE, reduce the BOS, reduce the handling cost, project management cost. So yeah, that would be great. However, the challenge is once the PV module is the bigger size, then it will be quite a challenge to install it. Because of in the beginnings, okay, in a small site, you can be able to manage by one person to install. Let's say if we're talking about the rooftop, is a is a is a high site of the installation. So the safety will be an issue. So time by time, actually the installer need to be also improved and need to use more and more the supportive machine, right?
Mhm.
By the way, well, that will be the big challenge if the new coming installer, with low experience to install. So that will be the big challenge. Yeah.
Thank you, Kun Thompson. Of course, as always, there's the new technology takes time for adoption. I would always cite an example. If you remember the first iPhone models, these are very small, and then now you have the big one. So, but everybody's getting used to it. And the upside is, of course, there's a positive impact in terms of LCOE, and this I think some of these issues are getting adopted to. Maybe Lim, I'm going to you. What are the key improvements, not just the power class, but in terms of maybe packaging, handling, that you see as a key trend that manufacturers or Trina is taking lead to address, of course, the challenges of the installers?
Yeah, thank you, Jerry, for the question. So, no, when we consider developing the larger size module, so of course, transportation is also a key issue. How we can fit these modules into the 40-foot container, and on the unloading site, unpacking of the modules for our customers on site, in terms of the durability of the packing, and how we can safely secure the modules to prevent damage during transportation. So all these have we have taken a lot of consideration into that, and I'm quite happy to say that based on the few projects that we have supplied to different customers so far, with the proper training given by Trina, most of the customers are able to handle the modules properly on site, and we do not see any major complaints or any major negative feedback from customers now. So I think, as you rightly mentioned, no, although it's a new, larger footprint module, but with the proper training and experience gathered along the way, I believe the installers or the customers will be able to utilize this large dimension module to the project's benefit.
Well said, Lim, and thank you for the insights. Maybe talking a little bit about LCOE, Kunbancha, with your experience as well, heavily in Thailand. Now you have much more larger options in terms of components, especially modules. There's different power classes. There's different design in terms of glass modules, backsheet modules. From a developer's perspective, what do you feel are key parameters that needs to be considered in terms of choosing the product fit for the projects that you're working on?
Okay, thank you for question. The key parameter for the success for the LCOE is the kind of the PV. The double glass is the suitable for the solar floating now, and you get consideration. First is costing. The second is technology. The fourth is social and environment. ICAT would like to, it's like a save cost and management by renewable to renewable energy. First, it's like a solar floating combined with hybrid to be hybrid with the hydropower and managed by energy management system and input the battery energy storage system and controlled by microgrids. This is the trend to manage the technology to demand response is very important. The finance state ICAT would like to the long term. Long term is mean renewable center, renewable energy forecast, and demand response. This is the focus point ICAT would like to focus this and advantage to solar floating. It must be consolidate the renewable energy from hydropower, from solar floating, and wind turbine is coming soon in the next project. I think it get find out some location to put wind turbine also, and then managed by microgrid. It's like Icelanding mode, something like that. This is the LCOE. It must be benefits more and more and advantage. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. The keyword is LCOE. Seems like there's a lot of focus on the LCOE part, and of course, as developers, this is very understandable. Do you see any key trends in terms of LCOE selection, consumption on the rooftop side of Thailand market? Consumption?
Oh, sorry. I was on mute. Sorry, could you repeat the question again? Yeah.
On the rooftop side, the rooftop development, Thailand is a very heavily CNI involved market, and LCOE, of course, is a key parameter. When talking about LCOE on the rooftop, from a component perspective, especially modules, what are the key parameters that you consider on choosing the products to be fit for the projects that you're working on?
Yeah, of course. For sure, on the rooftop, we need to manage the BOS. We talking about how many module on the string, right? And okay, we need to decide to fit into the rooftop because of different rooftop is a different arrangement. So okay, it's not mean that okay we will decide to use the only the one type of module. I mean for every project, but okay in different project, okay we need to design and use the right the module to reduce the BOS, and also after reduce the COS, we will get the better LCOE, right?
Thank you, Kunkamsen. I just also wanted to remind the attendees, if you have any questions, please feel free to write it in the chat, and I'll of course allocate some time at the end so that the speakers, the panelists, could also answer your question. Um, and there has been a lot of improvement in terms of power classes, in terms of materials. Also, this gives a lot of wider and broader application. Floating solar is one of them. There are also agri application now for solar. So because of the advancement of technology, there's more and more application. Um, do you also see Lim advancement in terms of warranties, in terms of the reliabilities of the product, given the evolution that we are seeing at the moment?
Yeah, hi Jay. So I think for now the longest warranty product will still be on the glass class module.
Mm-hmm.
So for Trina here, we have been supplying the glass class module, for quite a long time. I think from 2015 since now. So
Mm-hmm.
along the way, we have also made improvement and changes. So which is why for floating projects, which we consider is as a high humidity environmental condition. So we strongly recommend to use the glass module to ensure a long-term operation and power generation for the PV system.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Lim. Um, with all the changes on the technology as well in terms of quality and reliability, Kunbancha, is there any do you see any need for maybe a local standard to unify the standard to make sure the quality of the product are aligned according to the requirements of the local market?
Yeah. One thing to consideration is the installer.
Mm-hmm.
Installer is very important because of the EPC contractor. Very important because it's the key success to be the project complete or success in the future. Um, Design, conceptual design, in, approved drawing is like a systematic. You check the and conceptual design, working drawing, and finally to consider to the selection the EPC contractor very important to be the key factor in the success of the project in the future, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why ICAP would like to make new projects. It's coming soon, the 24 megawatt at the Silinton done already. The second megawatt is 24 megawatt at the Ubolat and combined with the BESS and hydropower and microgrid. This is the key point. Key point is mean the contractor should be have experience with the battery BESS very important because of the charge and discharge. It managed by EMS very important. It's a key success because when energized to grid 115 kV and grid utility grid ECAT would like to manage and not outage. It means the continuous reasonable accessibility and grid reliability very important. That's why the EPC contractor very key success. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kunbansha. Do you see a trend where EPC contractors are um, putting a more stringent quality or qualification requirements in terms of suppliers, given the complexity of the projects? Is that something that you see in the market now?
Yeah. The key points. Uh, Usually EPC contractor should be have experience with the solar roof first because of the solar roof. It means it's concept is like a string inverter.
Mm-hmm.
Solar floating usually use the central inverter
Mm-hmm.
design same the solar rooftop, but
Mm-hmm.
the location different. Uh-huh. In solar farm, move to water is like a river. At dam, it should be same solar farm. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Because the equipment or component may be different solar farm and solar floating, and that's why EPC should be have experience background from the solar farm and solar roof and in should be know very well about the component put tool. It's like as I have experience with the submarine project. Submarine project is mean near shore, offshore, and it's like a wave from the river at dam is very important because it's like a shear force. In engineering, is many factor come to it's like a factor to build the project solar floating is success in the future.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kunbancha. With a very important note coming from Kunbancha, selection of EPC becomes very critical for the success of the project. Lim has pointed out a lot of advantages on the 600 watt modules, the larger modules, the glass modules as well. Are there any key important advantages towards the EPC, Lim, that you wanted to highlight for the panelists and also for the rest of the audience?
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. So I think for the development of the overall solar industry. So as you see in the presentation earlier, how the power bin has developed over the last 10 years. So definitely power bin itself is still a very key parameter to support the overall feasibility of the PV system. So when we use a higher power bin modules, so the effects will definitely cascade down to the BOS cost savings and also the overall system cost savings. So I think the trend of going for higher power bin is still there. And of course, we need to consider, on the effective space utilization, how we can fit these larger dimension modules onto the respective application, like the rooftops or even the floating projects. Yeah.
Thank you, Lim. So it seems like there's really very positive direction in terms of one technology advancement. It opens up to a broader application as well. Um, uh, the market is also continuing to mature. There's more experienced EPC in Thailand. Competition is actually getting tougher as well. With all these overall changes, consumption, what's your feeling in terms of how is this accepted on the end customer? When we say end customer, maybe those big companies who wants to go for PPA. Is there a much greater acceptance of the technology, maybe a greater demand? What's your perspective on this?
Well, somehow is I can say that it's not many of the end user that they will know about the technologies. I can say, yeah. Well, talk especially once you're talking about the private PPA. Normally, they just want to calculate the saving, how the saving they can make, right? So if they can make the big saving from the developer like us, then they will ask us to choose those technology to and then guarantee that okay they can get the saving that that they looking for. So by the way, some of the clients, yeah, they also have experience and also they have the technical background, and they also mentions and put into the TOR that okay they may need the new technologies. For example, okay, they said that okay the module need to be at least just for example 600 watt per module, for example, or they need to specify on those how to say the the kilowatt total kilowatt installations. So it means that well, based on those backgrounds, it will also they can make sure that okay the developer somehow okay they will not provide the low technologies
Mm.
to the project, and okay that will run for at least 15 years, right? So they can ensure that they will get the new technologies. So yeah, that is my point of view. Juhei.
Thank you, Kun Thompson. It all boils down to financials.
Yes.
Let me also acknowledge Milan, who just joined us. Milan, we just had a quick a review about technologies, how this impacts development in Thailand, broadening different applications, including floating solar. Um, uh, Welcome to the panelists. And maybe you want to take over on this, Milan. Can you hear us? Okay, so maybe Milan has some technical issues. Um, uh, Priyanshi, I'm not sure about time. Are we on time? Are we still early or
So you can continue with the discussion. By the time Milan sir, I'll fix his technical issue. You can continue.
sure? Thank you. And again, just wanted to remind the rest of the audience if you have any questions, we have a great panelist here who could answer your questions. So please feel free to type in your answers and we'll take care of that at the last part of the session. Milan, can you hear us?
Yes, guys, I can. I'm so sorry I couldn't join earlier, but I was listening and it was quite good. Thanks for taking over my task. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Milan. So I think we've covered a lot of topics in terms of the technology development, what has happened over the years, how they impact different development from rooftop to um, floating solar. Maybe we touch a little bit on what are the future technologies, what are the changes that you foresee is happening maybe in the short term in terms of solar application, in terms of products. Maybe we start with Kun Thompson in terms of rooftop. Kun Thompson, right? Maybe Kun Thompson also has some technical issues. Maybe Kunbancha. We have a lot of developments in terms of modules. There's also developments in terms of inverters. What do you see in the short term are development trends that you think would be a game changer in terms of solar in Thailand?
Okay, thank you for question. Um, I think technology, PV technology is must be developed. It's like a capacity is much more than 600 watt per PV. It's very good because it we keep space or it's like a reduce space. The floating solar is condition is the area. Area is mean the deep river is the effect to the mooring, installing, and the area space and the cable length also.
Mm-hmm.
Inverter should be uh, central inverter is very important. I think because of the operation and maintenance is the key success also. When you hand over the project to the owner, you get, and then operation and on maintenance, maybe 3 year or warranty equipment 10 year or until long life 75 year for
Mm-hmm.
PV inverter 10 year something like that. It should be um, developed the technology inverter and PV
Mm-hmm.
and DC combiner box or other thing because of the solar floating as you know very uh, it's the water in the water is different in the, on the land and that's why the equipment is must be IP maybe 65 or much more because of the efficiency the equipment is very important
Mm-hmm.
and as we know the project ICAT right now have the project plan 16 project on hand and 5 project in within 3 years. It in 5 years start from 2020 2000 until 2027 5 project
Mm-hmm.
totally 417 megawatt. It is
Mm-hmm.
coming soon. And the next project after 2027 totally 11 project. It's a quite big. ICAT would like to check and stable or how many megawatt we energize and
Mm-hmm.
COD and then check its long term. What is the problem? Is the key problem in the future. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a step by step.
Mm-hmm.
ICAT would like ICAT would like to learning by doing
Mm-hmm.
project by project also, and that's why the advantage from equipment inverter and PV choose be develop every year, and
Mm-hmm.
then it benefit for the contractor and owner ICAT also. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kung Bancha. So that means basically adopting different components to more applications. Milan, maybe your view on it seems like Thailand is growing heavily on the CNI. There's a lot of new applications as well. What technologies you think are needed to further grow the market in Thailand? What are the breakthroughs that you think is necessary on the solar side to further bring the growth of Thailand to the next level?
I think technologies that will further reduce the cost of installation is what we should be looking for. And I guess, improving the efficiency of solar panels is key,
Mm-hmm.
um, and thus reducing the LCOE. The gap will continue to rise between electricity retail price and LCOE of solar. Thus, we'll see more and more grid parity for any sort of applications, really. And I think Thailand sooner or later will follow the trend to open up again for non non PPA utility scale electricity. I guess that's happening all around the world right now, particularly so in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
We see a huge demand of renewable energy that is not backed by any long-term power purchase agreement, energy that is traded on the open markets, on the spot markets, on the wholesale markets. I think CNI will continue to grow due to, or rather continue to keep the pace due to the cost saving. But essentially, Thailand is lagging behind uh, uh, on its carbon targets, and the country needs a lot more renewable energy. So I guess reducing the technology that reduces cost will continue to drive the innovations, and I guess batteries sooner or later will start to play a role as well. Not so much today in Thailand, but there are all the ingredients already for batteries on big scale, not so much on CNI segment, but hopefully with the continuous decline of costs of the technology, we also see batteries being implemented on CNI projects, residential as well, if that segment is to pick up. And then again, we really need the government to stay behind all of the development of the industry and make sure that we have the policies in place to grow.
Thank you, Milan. And it sounds like we have a very exciting future in Thailand to look forward to. Milan mentioned a little bit about the carbon footprint as well. Um, uh, Maybe Kun Thompson, do you see any trends towards broadening up the business landscape, a different business model to integrate the existing one to say carbon footprint measurements that would support the targets of the government in Thailand moving forward.
Yeah, of course, because of it is not Thailand. We are in the world, right? So, and we let's say that the Thailand government they have just signed some of agreement, right? Back into last year, end of last year. So yeah, we will have the big challenge, to meet that target to be like the net zero. Yeah, like every countries in the world. Um, well, by the way, in Thailand, I can say that we have the good developer here. A lot of developer. We have the experienced EPC. We have a lot of the good expert here in Thailand. By the way, the big challenge is on the regulation side, I believe. Yeah, even government they said that okay, they want to support to be the net zero, but to get that, we need to change a lot of the regulations. In terms of technologies, right now we could be think about the battery. We can think about uh, the, the demand response and the trade off between the peer to peer, but all of those still could not apply here in Thailand because of the regulations. So that is the questions. And okay, right now in Thailand, we have like the program or the sandbox, let's say the ERC sandbox, which is okay. The regulator need to study on those new technologies and also new business model and how to be applied here in Thailand. But based on the timelines, they will need to study by this year, and later they will, change or revise or adapt the regulations. And the question is how far it is, and
Mm-hmm.
the technologies have already advanced, but okay, we cannot apply here in Thailand. That is the big challenge. Yeah, in
Mm-hmm.
my point of view.
Yeah, definitely a lot of movement in terms of policies as well. That and the government is a big part of it. The support of the government to the growth of the solar industry is very crucial. There has been a lot of talks over the year about net zero, about carbon footprint, and carbon footprint extends not just also towards the suppliers, the modules. Is there something, Lim, that you think could be is considered on the evolution of the product on the module side, the reduction of carbon footprint as potentially could be a selling USP towards the developers, towards the end customers?
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Junrei. So yes, I think this carbon neutral topic is a very hot topic now. So not only in the ASEAN region, but also I think on a global basis, everyone is looking at it, and we do have customers and developers that is also raising out similar requests on how we can further improve our materials to reduce the carbon footprint. So one of the few items that we are looking at now is in terms of the module frame. So by using a different material, we are considering to bring down the carbon footprint, and also at the same time, for backsheet itself, we are also considering to move towards using more of the glass because it's a lower carbon footprint as compared to the backsheet material, and it's also backsheet material is also not so recyclable friendly. Whereas glass, we can still do some recycling. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And it seems like a lot of work. It's not an easy topic with all the supply chain involving the module side, also the other components. We have about 10 minutes left on our time. Again, I'd like to encourage the audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to type it in and we'll try to cover it at the last part of the event. With the 10 minutes left, maybe I'll use this to go around and take your thoughts on the future of Thailand. What's your perspective in terms of rooftop, in terms of floating solar, maybe in the next 5 years? What is your view? So maybe we start with Kunbancha, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you for question. Okay, Jenny. Um, is the next 5 year? I think solar in Thailand is commitment 10,000 megawatt for solar. Uh-huh. After COP climate change
Mm-hmm.
UN committee, totally 77,000 megawatt,
Mm-hmm.
increasing from solar floating, and 30% is mean 30,000 megawatt from renewable energy. It's a solar is 10,000 megawatt. It's very big amount to consideration, and that's why next 5 year it should be solar floating is like a trend.
Mm-hmm.
Trend is lamp up solar floating because of the Thailand have the ERC Energy Regulation Committee to separate the private PPA to private PPA to
Mm-hmm.
like uh, in the solar floating industrial estate authority of Thailand
Mm-hmm.
announced already 15,000 factory must be installed the solar rooftop just
Mm-hmm.
announced last month, and that's why the solar it is the like a king of the renewable energy. Uh-huh. Compared with the solar floating, the key client, the owner is the ICAT. ICAT have 9 dam left to be installed. 20,725 megawatt is the big amount. This amount for the solar, totally 10,000 megawatt in the future. After 5 years, I would like to see the technology is advantage and the
Mm-hmm.
cost saving is cost it must be cost saving and down going down, and social and environment it should be protect it like CO2 emission.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. As you know, the project management is to control one cost, the second quality, and the third time. The quality is very important for the renewable energy because the grid stable or not depend on the system. The system very important
Mm-hmm.
to build the grid reliability very important, and that's why the microgrid trend very popular now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And then Cancun try to build the project the microgrid again. We, last 2 years we build the microgrid Mesaliang is success already, and utility PEA hand over to PEA, and this is the pilot project. I think it get move is like a transfer technology to solar floating. The second project is 24 megawatt. ICAT would like to study and like step by step to
Mm-hmm.
use the hydropower, solar floating power, energy storage, and managed by energy management system and power conversion system to find out the solution is the best potential to solar floating combined with the hydro.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they would ICAT would like to build this project to next project. Next 5 year the trend renewable is the solar floating. Thank you very much, Sunil.
Thank you, Kunbancha. Very insightful and looks like a very busy next 5 years in Thailand with different applications, not just floating, but he also mentioned microgrid. Maybe we go to Milan. What's your perspective? Where is Thailand's solar industry in the next 5 years?
Well, I guess Thailand has been already one of the biggest markets in the world or in Asia in the past, so it can definitely be that again. Um, there is all the economics for the deployment, as I mentioned earlier. We just need a policy, and I guess everything depends on that. Um, if not subsidies, then open market for trading electricity will help significantly. And I guess dispatching solar power to the grid on spot market prices or on virtual PPA, as other countries are doing, will open up a lot of installations. I guess Thailand is Vietnam is right now leading the race for implementing the first policy for virtual PPA. If in the future Thailand is to follow, that will open a lot of capacity for the country.
Yeah. Thank you, Milan. Definitely a lot of opportunity in terms of energy trading, opening up the market, and hopefully this is something that Thailand and rest of other Southeast Asian countries could also adopt to open up the opportunity for solar, make it much more accessible to people who needs it. Maybe Kun Konsum, what's your view on Thailand market in the next 5 years?
Well, for sure, of course, the industry will be more and more, growth. I can say, it's not just only on the demand side, but okay, on the supply side, the technology will also be put right the industry. So, other than that, in terms of the financing, I believe that right now. We have seen a lot of the international developer come to Thailand, including Total Energies, yeah, and also the local conglomerate, local big company also jump in to play into the big role to be the developer, and so that's why the in the past maybe the local bank they will not support a lot on the CNI. Let's say right now. Many of banks they are looking for that, so that's why in terms of the value chains, including the technology, the module, the finance, the developer, uh, this supply side will be also pushing to Thailand. And for the government actually they have no choice. I believe that right now we talking about that we waiting the new policy, we waiting the new regulation, but in Thailand I believe that they have no choice because of just to give you some example, right now the big industry here in Thailand is petrochemical, and we export a lot of the product of the petrochemical to the developed countries like European or US, but I believe that in the maybe in the next 3 or 5 years for sure, those countries they will have like the CO2 tax. So that's why they need to use the clean power in order to be able to export into those countries without the tax, let's say, or small tax. So by the way, the petrochemical they don't have. Talking about the area to install the solar rooftop, they don't have. They have just only the piping, right?
Yeah.
And they also don't have a lot of the pond. So the only thing they can do is that they need to do like the peer-to-peer. So it means that they will pressure to also the Thai government that that is something that Thai government need to allow the people to do the peer-to-peer purchasing on the clean power. So I believe that will be another pushing to the market, and with outdoors, I believe that in the CNI you will see that it will be a lot of growth because of the oil and gas the price increased. So finally the electricity will be increased. So the CNI they need to reduce the cost, then they will for sure apply to use the solar, and well, I believe that just only how big it is the question, but for sure it will be growth. At least I believe that 30% per year.
Looks like very busy. I guess for everybody in the next 5 years. So the different opinions. Liam, maybe we would also want to thank Trina Solar, of course, for sponsoring this event. Maybe Lim, what's your view in the next 5 years? Are we expecting 1,000 watt modules after all these developments? What's your perspective in terms of module technology development?
Yeah, thank you, Jure, for question. So I think next 5 years, I believe no, definitely we'll still be exploring the different technologies, how we can further increase our power bin at a reasonable dimension increase, and at the same time also to get the other alternative material that we can use to bring down the carbon footprint, and also how we can better support all our customers in the region to achieve a lower US cost and also a lower LCOE. Yeah, definitely. With the strong, I think, exciting market for Asia Pacific region, there's a lot of potential that we are looking at now. So we are excited to be part of the solar industry. Yeah, thank you, Jerry.
Well said. And thank you all. I think coming from Kunbancha, different applications. We're talking about floating solar, mini grid. Milan also mentioned about different business model, energy trading, virtual PPAs could move the market. Kun Thompson also shared his thoughts about different business models. Again, the different opportunity and growth in terms of rooftop. And it's a common trend that we see that seems like solar, there's nothing that could stop it. We are growing, and the growth will continue. And this is not just done by one party, it's a combination of both the effort coming from the suppliers, the developers, the EPC, the different supply chains within the industry. But the key message is one, that we are growing. There's a lot of potential. There is a need for it. We have to take an open-minded approach in solar. And I think with that, I'll end the panel discussion with a note that solar is just getting started, and Thailand is just on the start of the revolution towards renewable energy. And I'll hand it over to Priyanshi for to close the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you to all our attendees as well. Thank you very much to our esteemed panel for this wonderful session. And a very special thanks to John Ray, sir, for superbly managing the session. Your industry insight and charismatic ability to engage both the audience and the speakers brought the session to live making them informative, thought provoking, and entertaining. So, thank you everyone once again. We promise to come back with more exciting topics very soon. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.